Hello, I'm James Wells, Education Manager at Crayola. We're excited that Harper Kids is collaborating with Crayola for this Read Along, Draw Along event to help children enjoy great stories and the illustrations that bring them to life. In honor of Juneteenth, we'll be sharing a beautifully illustrated book about a little boy and a family who experienced the celebration of Juneteenth, also known as Freedom Day, which commemorates the emancipation of enslaved African Americans on June 19, 1865. So grab some drawing supplies and get ready for an interactive story session. I'm thrilled to introduce today's author, Van Garrett, and illustrators, Reginald Adams and Samson Bimbo Adenugba. Van, you are an award-winning poet, as well as a musician and visual artist. Your work is world-renowned, having been published in the United States, Africa, Switzerland, Turkey, and London. The arts have a very interesting way of unlocking the many gifts that are within all of us. Could you tell us how your interest in the arts led to you becoming a children's book author?
Yes, thank you so much for your question. Well, I love art. That's not a secret. As a kid, I was encouraged to pursue my talents in art. And I'm a drummer, so I find the rhythms in everyday things. I'm always pounding out rhythms. And so when I was coming up with the idea for Juneteenth, I was very aware of what rhythms I wanted to be the backbeat, so to speak, for my work. So for me, it's just an extension of what I do. Writing for children is just an extension of what I do. I also like the visual arts, so I'm really excited to work with the two illustrators on this great project.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Van. And I love how you integrated your drumming with being the rhythm and the backbeat that's opened the door towards children's illustration and book writing. So Reginald, you are an award-winning public artist and now a children's book illustrator. Your work can be seen throughout Houston, Texas, and across the US. You've worked with over 50,000 youth volunteers, hundreds of artists, and thousands of community members. Many may recognize you as the artist that created the 5,000 square foot mural in Galveston. Please tell us about this mural and why the location is so significant.
Well, thank you, James, for the question. And the absolutely quality Juneteenth mural that you referenced in Galveston, Texas, which is also known as the birthplace of Juneteenth, really was a dream come true. A group of concerned citizens reached out in the fall of 2020 and shared this interest to bring to life the narrative and the history of Juneteenth. And while I had a little bit of awareness and knowledge of the holiday, it was a big learning journey that I was in store for in terms of really understanding the importance of this particular date when Major General Granger and literally thousands of Union soldiers arrived in Galveston on June 19, 1865, to essentially enforce martial law, which provided the emancipation to more than 250,000 enslaved Blacks here in Texas. And so thanks to a phenomenal team of artists that I get to work with, including Samson, who co-illustrated the book with me, and 5 other artists, we were able to bring to life this 5,000 square foot mural that really kind of documents almost 600 years of history, helping bring to life the rich history and heritage of Juneteenth right there in the heart of Galveston, Texas. And it's just been a beautiful ride seeing how this story has expanded now into this Juneteenth children's picture book by Van Garrett.
Like you, I also didn't have much knowledge around Juneteenth and the importance of the event. As a result of a series of events during the pandemic, this very important day and time is now widely available to everyone to know and understand what happened in Galveston during that time. So thank you for bringing your gift to the world through this very larger than life mural that documents this important part of our history. Samson, you are an illustrator and muralist from Nigeria. You've once referred to yourself as a visual journalist. I love that term. Talk to us about the value of artists documenting or visually journaling important moments and experiences.
We are privilegedly gifted to have this ability and this skill to be able to do what we do. Well, I'm a Christian, so I consider myself a co-creator with God. So the importance of it is that we are gifted with these things, not just for the fun of it, not just to do aesthetics, but for the drawings and for the inscriptions that we have in the cave. We would not have known the trade, the lifestyle, the way of life of the cavemen, which gave unto us the idea of history and kind of human that lived at that time. So the same thing is still is in our contemporary modern time. And that is why I consider it as a great privilege for being gifted with this kind of skill. I'm also privileged to work with very international artists like Reginald and some few other ones that we work together to create the great mural that actually brought about what we're talking about today. And the Juneteenth story being simplified and picturized for kids to be able to see and to understand even much more about it. Because most of the kids that are born right now may not necessarily have the idea of what actually happened at that time. But this book actually contributes to many other ones to actually bring the story home.
You're right. From the very beginning of time with cavemen, where they were documenting what was happening during that time to present day, artists certainly have a role to play. I appreciate the work that you've done, Reginald and others, in bringing this important event to life through your gifts and talents through visual art. And as you stated, young children that will see this mural will be inspired, and who knows, may one day become an artist and begin documenting these important events as we continue on in the future. So thank you for your work and that insight. So Van, Juneteenth is now a federal holiday. Many people were unaware of Juneteenth and its significance prior to it becoming this official holiday. What inspired you to write this book about Juneteenth?
I was asked by HarperCollins Diversified to write a book about Juneteenth. And I was really excited because as a kid, I experienced the wonder, the excitement, the pride that's associated around Juneteenth. And that made me feel something that I had never felt before. Never had I seen people take that much pride in something outside of a church experience. People were dressed in very nice clothes, just everybody was starched and pressed, and the cars were cleaned and waxed and shined, and people were riding horses in the parade, and the music was just really loud, and people that were strangers became family. And so I was like, how does this come about? How does this happen? How can a parade make people feel this close? And so that always stuck with me. And so over the years, I learned the significance of Juneteenth. And so when I wrote the book, I wanted to have young people experience what I experienced, that joy, that pride, that excitement, and something that is now a national federal holiday.
I can certainly reflect back to even my recent experience of going to Juneteenth celebrations. And you're right, the parade, the camaraderie, the pride behind this event is something that is infectious, and appreciate you sharing this gift with us. So now it's important for us all to learn about these historical moments as we celebrate our past and our future. So with that, I know that our viewers are eager to hear this story that you've written. Van, could you please read Juneteenth?
Juneteenth. I'm going to take the cover off, and you'll also see the wonderful art underneath. We loaded the car in search of sounds and stars. Snacks and backpacks headed to Galveston. Looking for the perfect spot, we parked and walked, laughed and talked until we got to the Strand. People smiled and waved as my wagon bumped down the street. My cool shades, shining mirrors blocked the bright Texas sun. I think this is a good spot, Dad said, smiling at Mom. What do you think, son? I nodded as mom reached in a bag and removed a wrapped sandwich. I was about to eat when music filled the street. Drums rolled, a whistle blew, a parade began. This parade felt different, not like the 4th of July or Labor Day. Many of the people on the big, bright floats looked like me. Marching bands high-stepped, played songs I recognized from the radio. Soulful rhythms echoed differently. Beauty queens' hands outstretched, decorated cars and trucks honked. Candy was tossed right and left. Boys and girls my size, some bigger, some with different colored eyes, scrambled to get treats. Some moonwalked and danced. Cameras caught the action. I caught red, white, and blue beads, long plastic necklaces. Everyone was happy, rejoicing in the ending of slavery in Texas, a national holiday, Juneteenth. A freedom day that will last until night, from the Strand to the seawall, as the light bounced off the faces of so many. I searched the crowd and focused, saw a man who looked like Pawpaw, a white beard and shiny eyes. There was a lady who looked like Mimi, a gentle smile and smooth hands holding a snow cone. There are so many people who look like us, I said, as the smell of barbecued chicken and sausage flavored the air. This isn't just a regular party. Mom held me tight and smiled. She lovingly told me of my history. Dad held her hand. She told me about what my ancestors had experienced. Abuse and pain, heartache, facing the rising sun, and how they overcame till victory is won. I understood why it's important to celebrate. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Why we drove the miles and strangers smiled, proud to have escaped the nightmares. Out from the gloomy past, why fireworks fell slowly over the ocean as a crowd became a mass choir that sang the Negro national anthem, loud as the rolling sea. The end. Thank you.
Whoa. Wow. Van, I feel like I was there. I could feel the rhythm of the drums, the sounds of those trombones and the trumpets, and the smell of the barbecue. You've really captured that. The visuals, you really brought the senses of that experience through these words. So thank you so much. And what a beautiful touch with the Negro National Anthem. I've sung that plenty of times, and it's just such a proud moment for African Americans. Thank you for highlighting the historical aspects of this story and making it as contemporary as today, because as a father, I've had those conversations with my son and daughter about this experience that I, of course, didn't experience as a kid. Yeah, appreciate you bringing this story forward. So Reginald, in the book, there are parts of the absolute equality mural on display. Could you show us how to draw a section of the mural like the one featured in the book?
Thank you for that, James. And amongst all the imagery in this mural, my favorite part really is the pursuit of absolute equality. The scene, the silhouetted scene of a parade of people walking together, celebrating that victorious moment where Juneteenth becomes this national holiday where we all get to celebrate the idea of absolute equality and freedom for all. So I chose to focus on that aspect of the mural in a demonstration that I hope will inspire some of the little artists out there as our viewers.
One of the techniques that artists use to create the illusion of depth and dimension is called atmospheric perspective. In this parade scene within the Absolute Equality Juneteenth mural in Galveston, Texas, as well as within the Juneteenth children's picture book, we use gradation of color to create the illusion of foreground, middle ground, and background. And today we'll do this by using 3 shades of the Crayola Pipsqueak washable markers, with the darkest shade in the foreground and the lightest shade in the background. I especially love these Pipsqueak washable markers because they fit perfectly in the hands of our littles, and the bigs love them because they're washable. Now, the people in the foreground are the darkest shade of marker, which we'll use black. They appear to be walking right up to us, as if you could touch them, almost leaping off the page, making them appear to be closer and more detailed. The people in the middle layer are slightly lighter shade of blue, and we'll use this primary blue. They're not as detailed as the people in the foreground, but they're still easy to make out. This is because they're not as far away as the people in the background, but they're not as close as the people in the foreground either. The technique that makes the middle layer appear less detailed than the foreground is called tone. And tone refers to the lightness or darkness of a color. And the medium shade of blue used for the people in the middle has a lower tone than the darkest shade of black used for the people in the foreground. And this lower tone means that the middle layer appears less detailed and less contrasted with the foreground. The people in the background are the lightest shade of gray, and we'll be using this gray Pipsqueak marker. They're the least detailed of all the people in the scene, and they appear to be the furthest away. And this is because the contrast between them and the background is the least, making them appear to recede or vanish into the distance. The technique that makes the background appear less detailed than the middle layer is called gradation. And gradation refers to the gradual change in tone or color to create the illusion of depth and distance. The gradual change from the medium shade of blue used for the middle layer to the lightest shade of gray used for the background creates the illusion of depth and distance. And by using gradation of color in this way, we've created a sense of depth and dimension in this parade scene. The 3 layers of people walking in silhouette against a white background gives us the impression of a real-life parade happening right in front of us. And the use of atmospheric perspective not only creates depth, but also helps to establish a mood or an atmosphere in the scene. The black, blue, and gray shades used in this scene gives us a sense of calm and serenity, perhaps suggesting a peaceful Juneteenth parade or a Freedom Day celebration in Galveston, Texas, as also seen in the Juneteenth children's picture book.
Wow, Reginald, that was awesome. I love how you explained how we actually see things in the real world, where things closest to us are very detailed, and as things get further away, that creates that perspective through color, right? And we start to lose the intensity of color as things get further away. So appreciate you walking us through how you executed this beautiful mural. I'm sure our young artists will take these insights to heart as they create murals, possibly in their communities. Samson, we see a wonderful parade unfold as the celebration of Juneteenth builds throughout the story. With every turn of the page, there is a sense of pride and joy. Can you demonstrate how to capture the joy of this moment?
Reginald has already given us an insight about drawing. When you have crowd, definitely as an artist, you will want to relate with 1 or 2 people in it, then fade out the rest of the people. And I'm talking about the composition of it, putting it on paper. But in coloring, the color fades with distance. So the closer an image is to you, the density of the colors are more heavier than the ones that are closer. And that's how you use, there's something called color perspective So the color perspectives helps us to show distance, even though you're coloring on a two-dimensional. You give the depth and the closeness by the way you use the color, which is the intensity of the color of the image that is closer to you, and the fading of the colors of the ones that are much more in the distance. And that's how I was able to capture, looking at it, that we are trying to capture the joy, the radiance, the excitement of the crowd. That has to also inform the colors you use and how you use your color to communicate that.
The first technique artists follow to make a good art piece is called sketching. Sketching is a practice of drawing rough outline or making a draft version of the final piece. The Juneteenth celebration procession from the Juneteenth book has a lot of people, in this case, some carrying the flag, others dancing on the float, and the rest of the people also jubilating in the distance, and some standing by the sidewalk. So in doing that, you have to know that some people will be closer to you and some other people will be farther away from you. And in putting that correctly, it's called perspective. The next thing to begin to do is to color. Now in coloring, you have to remember the issue of depth in your work, in your drawing. Now, the process or the technique of having to put depth in your drawing is called color perspective. Color perspective is the act of using pigment and color and texture quality to create a sense of depth in your painting. And now, so in choosing, to make it simple, we call it the father, the fader. So that tells you when something is farther, the color has to be more pale or fader than the ones that are closer to you. The richness and the color of the ones closer has to be different from the ones farther. If you put this in mind in anything that you do, in any drawing or painting that you're trying to paint, you will find out you represent very well depth and distance, even in the process of your drawing. Now, Juneteenth is a celebration of freedom, liberty, and jubilation. Crayola has given to us the tool to express ourselves. Begin to lighten your world and color your stories. Let people be enlightened. As a creative journalist, as you are, as an artist, keep writing a new history, a new story of joy, of peace for everybody. Lighten your world.
Thank you so much, Samson, for this amazing demonstration. I know our young artists will appreciate using color and color perspective to create their work of art. Now that you've seen some illustrations from Reginald and Samson, it's your time to draw. Grab some colored pencils, crayons, paints, or markers. Juneteenth ensured freedom for all Americans. Think about what freedom means to you. Will you illustrate it on a mural like Reginald, or show how you celebrate freedom like Samson? After this session, you'll have plenty of time to finish your art. Parents and teachers, when the young artist finishes their work, it will be great for you to ask them to explain what ways they would like to celebrate freedom with their family and friends. Then share a photo of their art in the comment section of this video. We can't wait to see what they create. And while kids of all ages are busy drawing, I want to mention that parents and teachers can be the first to know about free learning events like this one by signing up to receive the Crayola Education monthly e-newsletter. Colorful and fun resources will be delivered right to your email box. Okay, Van, we've been so inspired by this Juneteenth story. What advice do you have for children who seek to share stories, personal or historical, through their words?
That's a great question. What I would say is everybody has a story, and that story sometimes just has to come out, whether you scribble it on a sheet of paper, whether you tell somebody, whether you join in with friends. So allow your stories to come out. It's okay. Be a risk taker. Have fun, enjoy the experience, and share your stories with others.
Awesome. Great advice. Now, Reginald, your public art pieces, including the Absolute Equality mural, has touched the lives of many. What tips do you have for young artists who are looking to move beyond paper and use the world as their canvas?
So I like to consider myself the little boy who loved to draw, who never grew up. My parents were really supportive. They let me draw on the walls of my bedroom. I was encouraged, and it became a transferable skill where I was able to now draw on the walls of my community. So to parents, I would just say, encourage that creativity that you may see in your little. And to the kids, never give up. Never let anyone get in the way of those dreams of pursuing the arts, because you never know where it could take you. And perhaps one day you could paint a mural of your own celebrating Juneteenth and absolute equality in your own hometown.
Wow, thank you so much, Reginald, for those insights. And Samson, your illustrations in this book capture the joy and excitement of Juneteenth celebrations. What additional tips would you like to share with young artists who aspire to be illustrators?
This great opportunity that we all have. What I'm going to say to everybody who's trying to be an illustrator or an artist, as it were, consider yourself as somebody who lightens the world with what you do, with your creativity. Because whatever it is that you do on paper, on canvas, or you do it on your computer, you're actually adding or putting the joy to somebody. Art is therapeutic, both to the doer, the creator, and the people that views it. So you're doing something, you're adding light to the world. So keep doing it. Never let go. Just like Reginald also said, don't give up. What you do is something great. No matter how little it starts, it's going to get to something so great that even you'll be surprised.
Wow, Samson, such great advice. Be the light. I love that. So we want to thank Van, Reginald, and Samson for inspiring us today. We also want to thank our friends at Harper Kids for publishing this great book. And we want to share a special thanks for all of you for joining us for today's celebration of Juneteenth. And remember, as the great civil rights leader, Fannie Lou Hamer once said, nobody is free until we're all free.
All right, bye-bye.
Goodbye and happy Juneteenth.
Bye-bye and keep your light.
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.